Chapter 51. Crafty gloves, characteristic. Don't let go. No, I just think this thing is really magical, and it reminds me of other things, Shenjie said, inserting the magic jar handed over by Deng Yuki into the lock on his waist. Deng Yuki continued. There are two types of these canisters. The A-type canister means that the one direct canister used has not completely exhausted the canister, so when you use up the reserved canister, it can also automatically recover 10% every hour. The B-type deception energy jar has exhausted the corpse's deception energy and does not have the effect of automatic recovery. Please pay more attention when using it. Understood. Shenjie nodded, and then asked, but I'm curious, if 10% is restored every hour, then a full tank will be restored in 10 hours. If there is magic energy stored in it, how can the recovered magic energy be recovered? Could it be an overflow? Or will it not recover when it reaches 100%? Deng Yuki explained. Take the weird mouse as an example. You can understand that if we use the corpse of the weird mouse to make a weird energy jar, then its weird energy exists in the raw materials. When other weird energy is injected into it, the weird energy of the weird mouse the trick energy will be integrated into the trick energy jar itself, and other trick energy will be stored in the jar, so it will not exceed 100%. Generally speaking, the devious energy corpses used to make devious energy cans will not have too much residual devious energy, so the A-type canister can be used to automatically recover the devious energy emergency for the first few times. Let me tell you this, it is to avoid dangerous situations. When the magic power is exhausted and the magic power is needed to be replenished, the recovered magic power may be able to save lives. That's it. Shenjie nodded. Deng Yuki then handed the pistol and submachine gun to Shenjie, and continued to talk about the problem of the strange energy jar. But unfortunately, the manufacturing process of the strange energy jar is very troublesome. For the time being, only the first-level strange corpses can be made with a higher success rate. At present, the success rate of making the strange energy jar is relatively high. So far, the entire special strategy department does not even have a level 2 deception canister. Perhaps a higher-level deception canister will have a faster recovery speed, both in terms of its own reserves. Shenjie took out black gloves from the black suitcase and put them on. The moment he touched the gloves, a system prompt appeared in front of him. C-level characteristic equipment. Gloves. Characteristic. Non-release. Wearing this glove can grab all targets that the host can see. The target cannot break free if the host does not let go. It is actually a special piece of equipment. No wonder Deng Yuki was able to use this item to catch the soul-like thing flying out from the driver of the trick car. Shenjie suddenly felt like he had won an unexpected prize. After putting on special equipment such as gas masks, sabers, grenades, and flash bombs, he opened the car door and saw a team of fully armed special warriors standing outside. Minister, the first team is in position. You don't even need to listen to the voice. Just look at the figure of the tough guy in the front row. You can tell that this person is Feng Chengshou. Deng Yuki got out of the car and conveyed orders to various departments through the tactical headset, and then led the team into the community. At this time, there are still many soldiers from the Special Strategy Department in the community who are evacuating the residents of several other residential buildings in an orderly manner, and Shenjie and others are in charge of the building where Cheng Shengnan is located. Enter the incident site. Feng Chengshou leads a team to evacuate the residents stranded on the floors below the mysterious space. Shenjie, you follow me and try to go to the mysterious space to find survivors. Yes. Good. Stepping into the building where Cheng Shengnan lived, a red light suddenly flashed in front of Shenjie's eyes, and then the system's urgent reminder sounded in his mind. Warn. The host is about to enter the level 7 strange activity area. The 13th floor and above of the building have been covered by strange areas and have become a special pollution area. The environment of the contaminated area has changed, and the host will encounter unpredictable dangers when going there. Please cherish your life and stay away from the super polluted area immediately. Yo, there is no 10 deaths, no life, 9 deaths and 1 life. Good luck. Shenjie stepped into the building without hesitation. Going up to the 2nd floor, Feng Chengshou led a team to knock on doors door to door. Cheng Shengnan lives on the 17th floor. The fastest way is to take the elevator. However, taking the elevator at this time is too risky, so Shen Jie and Deng Yuki chose to take the stairs. Along the way to the stairwells on the 12th and 13th floors, there is a breakpoint in the middle. From here down is the normal stairwell, while the area above seems to have completely disappeared. Shen Jie learned from the feedback from Cheng Shengnan that at first the entire door disappeared, then the walls, ceiling, and floor. As she watched the floor disappear at a speed visible to the naked eye, although Cheng Shengnan kept in mind what Shen Jie said, "Don't do anything unnecessary and stay where you are," her instinctive will to survive in that situation allowed her to reach her feet in the disappearing zone. When he was walking by, he tried to put out one foot and stepped on the disappeared spot. However, the stepping position still has the feeling of stepping on the ground, but it is just invisible to the eyes. Fortunately, this was the second time Cheng Shengnan had experienced a strange incident, and he already had some experience, so he immediately explained the situation to Shen Jie. Deng Yuki judged that this was affected by the strange space, while Shen Jie learned through the system that this was a more advanced, weird domain that could change the environment. Deng Yuki used a trick energy detector to detect it and said, "The concentration is very high, and the measured value is between level 2 and level 3. According to the random characteristics of entering the trick space, it is very likely that after we enter from here, we want to find this again. Entrance, it's not that easy." "How did you handle this situation before?" Shen Jie asked. Deng Yuki said, "Use weird equipment to break open the weird space. After entering, gather the survivors together and find the weird weakness to break the weird space, or directly find the weird and kill them." With that said, Deng Yuki took out a swing stick, pressed the switch to extend the stick to 1 meter, and stretched it towards the fault area of the stairs ahead. Then, when the tip of the stick touched an invisible area upstairs, there was a slight tremor in the air. "You stay here, I'll go in first and try to gather the survivors together. If you can't find a way to break the strange space, at least you can think of a way outside," Shen Jie said. "Strictly speaking, this is your first mission. I think it's better to go in together." Deng Yuki rejected Shen Jie's proposal. Shen Jie took a step forward, stood at the fault, turned back and smiled at Deng Yuki. "Don't forget what you said, dealing with weird events never relies on more people." Deng Yuki thought that Shen Jie was considering her status as a minister. After all, she was still needed to take charge of the overall situation, but she did not know that Shen Jie was determined to obtain the intangible characteristics. After speaking, Shen Jie's gloved hands slowly stretched out and stuck to the air in front of him. As the air trembled, he slowly stepped out. This was the first time that Shen Jie took the initiative to enter a strange space. When his feet touched the ground, he cautiously took a step upward. Looking back, Shen Jie found that not only Deng Yuki had disappeared, but the original stairwell had also completely disappeared. His entire figure seemed to appear out of thin air 13 stories high in the air. Even the building can't be seen below, as if the entire building has been removed, leaving only an empty space, and Shen Jie is standing, alone, in the sky. Chapter 52. Question. What is the largest island in my country? Shen Jie felt like he was standing on a 13-story glass plank. What was even more terrifying was that he couldn't even see the glass when he lowered his head. Anyone who was afraid of heights would have been paralyzed by fear. "Minister?" Shen Jie tried to shout to Deng Yuki. Deng Yuki's reply came quickly over the intercom. "Roger. How are you doing now?" Shen Jie asked. "I have only taken one step up now. Minister, can you hear my voice directly or through the headset?" "Headset." Deng Yuki replied. Shen Jie said, "That's really magical. We are only one step apart. The sound cannot be transmitted, but the signal is not affected." Deng Yuki said, "The weird space is more like a spatial distortion, but it is actually still in the space we are in. It is like a house, divided into countless small rooms by soundproof baffles, and the place you enter is different. For sure, for example, you have only taken one step forward, but in fact it may appear on the 20th or 30th floor, so the sound cannot be transmitted, but the signal is barely able." Hearing this, Shen Jie tried to take a step back. He found that he did not return to the stairwell, but just took a step back, still standing in the air. Then, Shen Jie continued to take a few tentative steps upward. Rao is a fear of Shen Jie. At this moment, walking in the air, both feet are softened. Deng Yuki said to the intercom, "Huo Yu, can you see Shen Jie when you look at the 13th floor?" Soon, Huo Yu's response came over the intercom. "Report, invisible. In our field of vision, the 13th floor began to appear to be transparent, and no one or thing could be seen." Shen Jie pondered. So the area above the 13th floor here is not an ordinary disappearance, but forms a transparent area. People and things inside cannot be seen from the outside, and it is like walking into a completely transparent area, maze. Deng Yuki said, "Be careful. The first thing you need to know is which floor you are on, and then go to the 17th floor to try to find the source. Pay attention to safety and don't take risks." Understood. Shen Jie continued to walk upwards, touching the wall with his sly gloves. Looking down from his perspective, he couldn't even see the buildings below the 12th floor of the building, and his vision went straight to the ground floor. Even though the soles of your feet feel like stepping on the ground, you can't see anything at all. This kind of psychological oppression can only be understood by those with acrophobia. Before entering the building, Shen Jie and Deng Yuki looked at the floor plan of the community and the number of stairs for the safe passage in the building. There were 23 stairs in total, so he was extra careful when he stepped on the last staircase. Haha, stepping onto the last ladder, Shen Jie tightly held onto the railing with one hand. It had the characteristic of a sticky glove, so even if he missed the step, there would be no danger. Since he didn't know which floor he was on, Shen Jie could only go to the elevator first to see if he could find any survivors and ask for some clues. Relying on the memory of the layout plan in his mind, Shen Jie groped the wall and walked out of the stairwell to the corridor area outside. This building has 2 elevators and 4 rooms. The elevator room is very spacious. As soon as Shen Jie stepped into this area, he heard a cry from the right side. Looking along the sound, there were 3 people, 2 large and 1 small, lying in the air, 10 meters away on the right. They looked like a family of 3. The man among the 3 was the first to notice Shen Jie, and when he saw his clothes, he immediately shouted to him, "Police? Are you a comrade police? Save me, save us." The man's accent was a bit strange. It felt like a foreigner speaking Chinese forcefully, but what surprised Shen Jie was that he could hear the man shouting. But according to Cheng Xingdan's feedback, when she tried to communicate with neighbors outside the house before, her voice could not be transmitted. Shen Jie made a gesture to the man and said loudly, "Stay where you are and don't move. I will take you out after I deal with the situation here." "Comrade, get me out quickly." The man stood up in a hurry, his legs were trembling, and he didn't dare to look down. "Husband, Dad." The woman and the 10-year-old boy also wanted to get up, but they were paralyzed by the hanging scene and did not even have the strength to stand up. The man ignored the calls of his wife and children, hunched his body comically, walked toward Shen Jie with trembling steps, and then hit an invisible wall with a bang. "What is this? What is this? Help me. You are the police. Please save me." The man kept slapping the transparent wall and shouted to Shen Jie. The man looked to be in his 30s, with narrowed eyes, wearing a large plaid bathrobe, and a look of fear on his face. "I say it again, go back and lie down," Shen Jie said coldly. The man yelled angrily, "I am a Chinese and a lawyer, and I enjoy preferential treatment here. If you don't save me, I will go to the embassy to complain against you." "Idiot!" Shen Jie didn't bother to pay attention to him and walked straight forward. At this time, when the man slapped the wall, he seemed to touch something. He pulled hard, and an oil painting appeared, out of thin air, in his hand. "This is the painting on the wall of my house?" The man seemed to realize something and touched the wall again. He touched another oil painting, but the oil painting he threw on the ground disappeared out of thin air. "Am I still at home? Just can't see the furniture?" The man realized that the invisible wall in front of him was actually the wall of his home, so he touched a distance to the right and found the door and handle. He looked happy, opened the door and ran out. "Husband, don't leave us, Dad." The man ignored his wife and children's pleas for help and chased Shen Jie. Wait, take me out, take me out." The man rushed towards Shen Jie like crazy. Shen Jie had a submachine gun hanging on his body and a pistol on his waist, With all the weapons on his body, how could he easily get close to the man? He turned around and kicked out the side kick he had just learned yesterday, kicking the man in the lower abdomen. The pain caused the man to kneel on the ground. I'm sorry, my first priority is to protect the safety of our citizens. People from the country, please call the police phone number of the country. Do you know the phone number of the embassy? Do you need me to check it for you? Shen Jie asked with a smile. The man still wanted to ask Shen Jie to take him out, but he didn't dare to offend him, so he could only plead. I am an overseas Chinese in Bang country. This time I am coming back to visit relatives. Please, take me out, take me out. Oh, Shen Jie asked with interest. Then answer a simple question for me. Where is the largest island in our country? Don't think about it. Answer it immediately. 3, 2, 1. Wanwan Island. The man yelled without thinking. He felt that the man in front of him was crazy. In this situation, he didn't want to escape for his life, but he still asked such boring questions. Shen Jie snorted. Wrong, it's Sakura Island. God's Sakura Island. Brother, are you crazy? The man was speechless, but he also saw that Shen Jie was obviously teasing him and had no intention of taking him out. Spy. Shen Jie glanced at the man with a look of disgust. A spy who abandons his wife. Shen Jie added, and walked towards the corner ahead without looking back. Standing at the corner, he looked at the man and asked, Okay. Answer me another question. How many floors is this place? Floor 21. The man replied. After Shen Jie received the answer, he left without looking back. Etc. Hello. Chapter 53. The ever-changing strange space. The man was about to cry. He originally thought he had met a savior, but he didn't know that the other party didn't follow the rules at all. Complain. You must go to the embassy to complain after you leave. Shen Jie walked to the corner of the elevator, looked back at the man and said, If you don't want to die, just go back to the house and lie down. I will take you out after I solve the problem here. Then, as soon as he turned around, he disappeared from the man's sight. The man swallowed. He didn't know why such a strange situation happened. He was a little confused for a while, not sure whether he should listen to Shen Jie's words. Shen Jie learned from the man that this was the 21st floor, so to get to the 17th floor where Cheng Shengnan was, he had to go down 4 floors. Shen Jie returned to the stairwell and continued walking down, going down 4 floors to the 17th floor. When he walked into the elevator, he didn't see anyone. Mr. Cheng, I am on the 17th floor. Can you see me? Shen Jie picked up the phone and asked. Cheng Shengnan replied. I can't see you. I'm standing in the living room now, with the elevator on the left, but I don't see you. Where was the neighbor from before? Shen Jie asked. Cheng Shengnan replied. He fainted from fright after the floor disappeared, and he is still lying in the middle of the elevator room. Okay. Shen Jie did not see the unconscious person in the elevator, which meant that the floor he was on was not the 17th floor. Shen Jie groped for the wall with the help of the layout plan in his memory. He went to the 4 houses on the 17th floor and knocked on the door one by one. Unfortunately, he did not get a response. Shen Jie was sure that he had walked down the 23 by 4 stairs, so there could be no error, so he returned to the stairwell and tried to walk up 1 level. As soon as he stepped into the stairwell, Shen Jie was surprised to find that the man who had abandoned his wife and son was holding on to the wall of the elevator and walking forward tremblingly. The man was overjoyed when he saw Shen Jie coming back. Comrade, are you coming back to take me out? Shen Jie frowned and walked down 4 floors and up 1 floor. No matter how hard he calculated, it was impossible to return to the original place. Obviously, this strange space was more complicated than imagined. Shen Jie told Deng Yuki about the situation in the strange space through the intercom, and then prepared to use the most primitive method. Look up 1 level at a time. At this time, Shen Jie saw the man's wife and child still lying in the house. They were obviously lying on the spot and not moving, but the space gave people the illusion that they were slowly turning to the right. This feeling was as if Shen Jie and them were in different Rubik's cubes. As the Rubik's cube turned, the positions of the woman and the child also changed. The woman held the child tightly in her arms, feeling the ground moving, and screamed in terror. Lie down, don't move, Shen Jie shouted to the woman and child. They saw the woman and the child raising their heads, opening their mouths and calling something to the man in the elevator. But the strange thing was that they could clearly see them talking, but no sound could be heard. "I want to go out. I want to go out. Take me out quickly." The man looked at the rotating space and shouted to Shen Jie in horror. The man originally wanted to walk towards Shen Jie, but as soon as he took a step, his whole body seemed to have stepped empty, and fell down with a swish. Then, the whole person disappeared from Shen Jie's eyes. Shen Jie was stunned, subconsciously turned on the freezing device and sprayed it towards the ground. As the freezing sound of click click sounded, a layer of frost condensed on the invisible ground. There was a large obvious gap on the ground, and the position where the man stood was the center of the gap. The ice mist sprayed directly through the gap and sprayed downwards, without condensing frost like the ground next to it. Obviously, the man fell through this gap. Is this the mysterious realm? Shen Jie still remembers that when he first approached Tom's supermarket, the system prompted, affected by the strange realm. The current area will change the terrain according to strange characteristics, such as swamps, lava fields, quicksand areas, and so on. The strange characteristic that has changed the environment here is invisible, so an invisible area is formed, and this area is still changing. Thinking of this, Shen Jie finally understood why he walked down 4 floors from the 21st floor and ended up on another floor instead of the 17th floor. Because Shen Jie is moving, the entire strange space is constantly changing. This is a bit difficult. Shen Jie frowned slightly. If the terrain continued to change, he wouldn't even be able to get to the 17th floor, let alone find the source. At this time, Huo Yu's voice came from the intercom. "Minister, in the building you are in, a person just fell out of thin air from the 13th floor and fell on the green belt." Shen Jie asked, "Is this person wearing a big plaid bathrobe?" "Right. He is the owner of the unit on the 21st floor who just had a conversation with me. When the ground started to rotate, he wanted to rush to my side, but suddenly he fell down," Shen Jie said. Deng Yuki said, "The distorted space caused by the strange space usually takes several hours to more than 10 hours to change. I didn't expect that in less than half an hour. Shen Jie, you should focus on finding the source. If you have a chance to get out of the strange space, you can exit first and then make long-term plans." Shen Jie replied, "I think there is no chance for long-term planning, because the floor in front has begun to collapse quickly." Shen Jie used the freezing device to spray out ice mist and sweep it towards the surrounding ground, while stepping on the frosty ground to evacuate to a safe area. However, the floor collapsed faster than Shen Jie imagined. In the blink of an eye, it came to his feet from a few meters away. Shen Jie didn't have time to think about it, so he turned around and ran back to the stairwell. He used his memory to determine the position of the handrail of the stair railing. He swooped down and grabbed the railing tightly with his hands wearing cunning gloves. Click! Shen Jie felt that the stairs under his feet were shattered like glass, and suddenly disappeared, and then he was hanging in the air by the railing. Fortunately, the trick glove has the property of holding on. As long as he doesn't let go, he won't fall off. Click! Click! At this time, there was another sound of broken glass, and this time it was not the floor. Judging from the sound, it was the armrest that Shen Jie was holding on to. Warn! 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 The current area has been severely polluted by the uncanny realm, and some areas have begun to collapse. Please cherish your life and stay away from the area immediately. Would you like to try staying away? Shen Jie wanted to complain that the system's latency was obviously a bit high. He was already playing Mission Impossible 7 inches here, and it was only then that he discovered that some areas were beginning to collapse. Shen Jie grabbed the handrail with one hand and picked up the nozzle of the freezing device with the other hand and sprayed it around. 1 meter away from his upper right, a layer of frost-condensed stairs appeared. Shen Jie quickly adjusted his body shape and tried his best to climb up. He stepped on the railing and threw himself towards the frozen stairs on the upper right. Grab the edge of the stairs and the hold on feature will take effect. Shen Jie never thought that one day he would be able to experience the joy of Tom Cruise climbing a building in Dubai. The stairs would collapse at some point. Shen Jie didn't want to take his own life as a joke, so he quickly tried his best to hold himself up and climb up. At the same time, He reported the changes in the strange space to Deng Yuki. Understood. I have asked people to place inflatable cushions under the building to cover the green belt around the building as much as possible, Deng Yuki replied. Judging from the situation of Na Bang Guo Nan, as the invisible and mysterious space continues to change, more people will fall. Regardless of whether the inflatable mattress can catch it or not, such preparations must be made. Shen Jie climbed back to the stairwell and used an ice device to explore the path to prevent stepping in the air. As soon as he entered the elevator, Shen Jie found a bald middle-aged man lying not far away, and a few meters behind him in the air. Cheng Shengnan stood there waving to him. Shen Jie, Chapter 54, The Laws of Strange Space. Can you hear me? Shen Jie raised his voice and shouted towards Cheng Shengnan. Yes. Cheng Shengnan was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Obviously, even she was a little surprised. She tried to communicate with her neighbor before he fainted. She couldn't hear the sound at that time. Why could Shen Jie hear the sound when he came? Shen Jie was not surprised. According to his guess, the strange space was constantly changing. From the sound being heard at the beginning to being blocked later on the 21st floor, similar changes may have occurred here. Shen Jie took a few steps forward, approached the transparent wall and asked, "Is this the door of your home?" "Yes." Cheng Shengnan nodded. Shen Jie directly tried to release the immovable characteristic towards the door. According to what Cheng Shengnan said, the door is the first place to become transparent, and Shen Jie suspected that something strange and invisible was attached to the door. However, the characteristic immovable did not produce a response, either because the invisible has left, or the other party is still in motion. At present, the latter is unlikely. Shen Jie held the nozzle of the freezing device and began to spray the door. Soon, the frost condensed into the outline of the door. Shen Jie had been exploring the path with the freezing device. At this time, 2/3 of the secret energy stored in the tank was consumed. He directly took out a secret energy tank and plugged it in, filling it up. Looking at the trick energy tank again, it only consumes 27% of the trick energy. Indeed, as Deng Yuki said, a trick energy tank can charge the freezing device several times. After the outline of the door appeared, there was no trace of strange presence on it. There is another possibility that the strangeness is not outside the door, but inside. Because the octopus was brought back by Cheng Shengnan, this possibility is even greater. You retreat to the bedroom now and close the door, Shen Jie shouted to Cheng Shengnan. Although Cheng Shengnan didn't understand what Shen Jie was going to do, she believed in Shen Jie's judgment, so she touched the wall, returned to the bedroom, and closed the door. Since everything is transparent, Cheng Shengnan's movements look like he is performing a pantomime, which is very weird. Okay. Cheng Shengnan shouted to Shen Jie. Shen Jie first dragged the unconscious bald middle-aged man to the stairs, then returned to the door, took off his socks, and tied them to the door handle near the door lock. Then he took out the explosive grenade specially made by the Special Policy Department, pulled out the ring, put it in his sock, and immediately rushed to the corner of the stairwell. A few seconds later, boom. Since the entire area was made transparent, smoke and dust were thrown up when the blasting grenade exploded. From the direction and trajectory of the smoke, Shen Jie judged that the security door must have been blown open. After all, the power of this blasting grenade is not small. I guess if this security door becomes weird, I will complain, MMP. It's a security door, not an explosion-proof door. Shen Jie raised his hand to try to disperse the dust in front of his eyes. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that it felt good to have a backstage and equipment. He asked the minister to get a knife license, a gun license, a mine license, a tank driving license and so on. Even if you extract the nuclear bomb from the system, you won't have to worry about not having a chance to use it. If you had these equipment, there would be no need to play fire escape with weirdness. But unfortunately, as Deng Yuki said, when facing the weird and their magical space capabilities, numbers and equipment are never advantages. For example, if the 21st floor collapsed before, if a whole team was there, only a handful of people would survive in the end, and the team might even be wiped out. Low-level weirdness is okay. Just treat it as a monster. Once you have a weird space, it is not so easy to find patterns and weaknesses. Shen Jie stood in front of the door and pulled out his saber to test. After confirming that the door lock had been blown open and the door was shaky, he kicked the door open. Then he sprayed the freezing device against the door to make sure that the invisible was not inside the door, and then let Cheng Shengdan come out. At this time, Deng Yuqi's voice sounded on the intercom. "Chen Jie, I just heard an explosion. What's the situation over there now?" "I found the 17th floor. In order to prevent the strange thing from attaching to the door, I directly used a blasting grenade to break through the door," Shen Jie replied. "It's always better to be cautious. Now the survivors below the 13th floor have been evacuated. Feng Chengshou and I are leading the team to stand by outside the strange space. If you need support, we will go in," Deng Yuqi said. Shen Jie thought for a while and decisively rejected Deng Yuqi's proposal. It's best not to let others enter the weird space first. The rules here haven't been figured out yet. Unless you can conjure up a second pair of weird gloves. Otherwise, according to the collapse of the 21st floor, the situation is that even when Ethan Hunter comes, he has to take a break. After Shen Jie briefly told Deng Yuqi what he had discovered so far, including the collapse of the 21st floor and other information, he turned to Cheng Shengdan and asked, "By the way, you said you bought an octopus in the aquatic area before, and you saw the waiter with your own eyes killing and bagging fish?" Cheng Shengdan nodded. "Yes, but when I took it out of the bag, there was only a wet and sticky plastic bag left." "Are you sure the waiter killed the octopus?" Shen Jie asked. Cheng Shengdan replied, "Of course, I saw him cut open the octopus's body, dig out the internal organs and throw them into a bucket aside, and cut off the octopus's tentacles. This has been dismembered. There is no way he can still survive, right? Even a weirdo with super healing ability like a weird mouse has to piece the body back together before it can heal." However, Shen Jie felt that if it was really a monster close to level 3, how could it sit still and wait for death when faced with being slaughtered by a supermarket attendant? "Minister, contact the people still stationed in the supermarket and ask the waiters in the aquatic product area if they have lost any aquatic products recently." "Are you sure Cheng Shengdan only bought one?" Shen Jie said into the intercom. "I'll give you a reply in 3 minutes." Deng Yuqi immediately contacted the special line and asked the special strategy soldiers stationed in the supermarket to go to the aquatic area to investigate according to Shen Jie's instructions. The results were obtained in less than 3 minutes. Shen Jie, the waiter at the aquatic product area, said that after Cheng Shengdan bought an octopus, there should have been 7 octopuses in the tank, but now there are only 6 left, Deng Yuqi replied. Sure enough. Shen Jie frowned slightly. In his opinion, although Weird was as powerful as a monster, it was not unkillable, so intangible, could not sit still and wait for death when faced with being slaughtered by supermarket attendants. Then there is only one possibility: the one that was killed was not invisible. Shen Jie believes that characteristics are traceable, such as the silence born from a cat, the ball of hair stuck in the sewer doesn't move, the butcher's knife doesn't break, and the trick glove doesn't let go. In other words, apart from the strange, 4-character generation, of a certain travel, Shi, Tour, Zong, the characteristics of the Wu character generation and the Bu character generation can all be related to the ontology. There is a category of octopuses called mimic octopuses. Their bodies can change color and shape at will, making them the top masters of camouflage in nature. Its characteristics are comparable to intangible. Most importantly, octopuses eat their own species. It's just that Shen Jie still doesn't understand something. The invisible ability can make half a building disappear, become transparent, and make a whole floor collapse at will. Why did he do nothing in the supermarket for so long, and why did he do something today? Also, where did the killed octopus go? Minister, please check the purchase time, quantity, sales, etc. of this batch of octopus as soon as possible. Thank you. Shen Jie needed to confirm something. Good. Chapter 55. Good luck. Found it. After waiting for less than 5 minutes, Deng Yuqi got the supermarket purchase order and transaction records from the information department. This batch of octopus has 2 purchase records. One was from Sakura country. 3 boxes, a total of 200 octopuses, were sent in batches to various Tom's supermarkets across the country. The second time was from a seafood company in the province. Talking about domestic, the Ministry of Information is still investigating the specific information of the company that cultivated the deep-sea octopus. Tom's supermarket in Wrong City was allocated 20 octopus for the first time, and 7 for the second time. Later, the Sakura country sewage incident occurred, and the island country's seafood was severely impacted. No one cared about these octopuses for most of the year, and they died. Some of them were processed by the manager, and the rest were changed to domestic batch numbers. Shen Jie fell into thinking when he heard this. Although he still didn't know the origin of the strangeness and the reason for the strangeness, he guessed that the invisible were most likely the batch introduced from the Sakura country. Can you find out how the manager handles the seafood? Shen Jie asked. Deng Yuki said. We are checking. 2 minutes later, Deng Yuki said. The manager said that when they put the dead seafood into barrels 2 months ago to take away for disposal, the dead octopus in the barrel was missing. They thought it was a wild dog or wild cat that took it away, so they ignored it and used the remaining seafood to make frozen products. Carried away by wild cats and dogs? I'm afraid the manager was too lazy to investigate because it was too troublesome. Otherwise, how could the wild cats and dogs give up the other seafood in the bucket and only take away the octopus? Whether it was Shen Jie or Deng Yuki, they immediately realized that there was definitely something wrong with this. Minister, you ask the supermarket to kill and bag the remaining 6 octopuses, and then send them here. Before Shen Jie finished speaking, he suddenly noticed the position of the bald middle-aged man he had dragged to the stairs. Moved to the right. And he clearly remembered that when the 21st floor began to collapse, it was when he saw the position of the mother and son starting to rotate to the right. No, this place may collapse. Hurry up. Shen Jie called to Cheng Shengnan and ran towards the door. Caw. 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 As soon as I rushed to the corridor outside, I heard the sound like breaking glass coming from the left side of the corridor again. I couldn't go to the stairwell on the left, so I had to run to the right. The familiar cracking sound is getting closer and closer. According to the last experience, the collapse will only collapse the current layer, but not the layer above. Get close to the railing and walk up. Although Cheng Shengnan didn't understand why Shen Jie said, it's going to collapse, and walked up instead of running down, she chose to trust Shen Jie's judgment at this time. The two of them had just taken a few steps up when the sound of shattering had already reached their feet. Shen Jie reacted very quickly, grabbing the railing with one hand and fishing towards Cheng Shengnan with the other. Ah! Cheng Shengnan suddenly found that there was nothing under his feet. As soon as he fell downwards, Shen Jie grabbed his arm. Getting used to seeing Cheng Shengnan's cold and condescending attitude, Shen Jie saw Cheng Shengnan's panicked expression for the first time. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to make a joke because the floor collapsed and the handrail followed. And only have 1 minute, don't move, as long as I catch you. You won't fall. Shen Jie grabbed the armrest with one hand and Cheng Shengnan with the other, unable to use the freezing device. Hold my legs. Shen Jie clamped his legs towards Cheng Shengnan, freed his hand to pick up the freezing device and sprayed it to the right. Due to Shen Jie's judgment, the two of them ran upstairs in advance this time, so they were closer to the uncollapsed floors than before, only less than half a meter away. Cheng Shengnan hugged Shen Jie tightly with both hands. Although the position where his face was pressed was a bit indecent, who would bother with such trivial matters if his life was about to end? Grab my hand. After Shen Jie revealed the location of the stairs, he immediately reached out and grabbed Cheng Shengnan's hand. And Cheng Shengnan also grabbed his hand with both hands in cooperation. Then, Shen Jie dragged Cheng Shengnan and swung her up. Apart from the pain in her arms, she didn't have to worry about letting go due to the holding on effect of the glove. Go up. Shen Jie threw Cheng Shengnan towards the frost-covered stairs, then pushed himself up, stepped on the handrail and jumped towards the stairs next to him. After jumping up the stairs, Shen Jie helped Cheng Shengnan up and continued running upstairs. It's so exciting. I can now imagine the joy of extreme sports. Shen Jie felt very excited and even ran with more energy. Cheng Shengnan was so frightened that she never wanted to experience this kind of thing again in her life. At this time, Huo Yu's voice rang on the intercom. Minister, there were 2 more people who fell in the building just now, a bald middle-aged man and a woman. Both fell on the safety air mattress and fell into coma. Now it has been transferred by people from the medical department. Okay. Let people lay out more safety air cushions, preferably to cover the green belts around the building, Deng Yuki ordered. Clear. Shen Jie asked on the intercom as he went upstairs. A man and a woman fell down. Is the woman wearing pink fluffy pajamas? Is there a 10-year-old child? The woman is wearing casual clothes. She is about 20 years old and has short hair. No 10-year-old child has been found to have fallen, Huo Yu replied. Shen Jie frowned when he heard this. So, the mother and son on the 21st floor are okay? Only the corridors and stairwells will collapse, but the rooms will not collapse? Although Shen Jie had such a guess, he did not dare to try it easily, because there was still a 1-minute error tolerance between the collapse of the handrail and the floor in the stairwell. If there was a collapse in the room and there was nothing to grab, you can only bet on whether it will fall on the air mattress. However, Shen Jie still told Deng Yuki the laws he had mastered so far. Minister, at present, the floors leading to the stairwell are random. When the floor is turned to the right, it will collapse. There will be a sound similar to breaking glass. The floor will collapse faster than the handrail of the stairwell, about 1 minute faster. The first man in the bathrobe who fell and the mother and son on the 21st floor were a family. When I left the 21st floor, the mother and son were still in the room. In the end, only the man in the bathrobe fell, so I suspect that the collapse may only be when it comes to hallways and stairwells. The rooms are probably safe. Received. I have asked the technical department to record and analyze the regular information you mentioned. Also, the octopus you requested has been delivered, Deng Yuki said. Shen Jie said. I suspect that Weird's original form is a mimic octopus that feeds on its own kind. But why it only eats dead ones of the same kind and not the living ones is unknown. But since I can't see this weird one, you can try to lure it out with the corpses of the same kind. But if you want to send things in, you have to face two problems. One is the randomness after entering, which means whether you can meet me depends on luck. The other is the collapsed floor, and there is only one pair of sneaky gloves. There is no glove forgiveness in collapsing, and the risk is high. My suggestion is to divide the things into two parts, and send in at most 2 soldiers who can have the arm strength of Jia Zhe in Longtan Tiger's Den, to climb through the window and jump off the building with his bare hands. Deng Yuki muttered. I understand, I will arrange it. Shen Jie and Cheng Shengnan continued to move upward. Since they didn't know when it would collapse, Shen Jie simply kept walking upward. After going up to 3 floors in a row, a red light suddenly flashed in front of Shen Jie's eyes. Warn. The host is close to the 7th level of Weird, Invisible. With the host's current strength, it is bound to escape death. Please stop seeking death immediately and stay away from the Weird. It's just a narrow escape, with no chance of recovery, but with no hope of escape, with no way to escape, and in danger? Looks like there's something going on, good luck. Chapter 56. Why are there always characters in disaster movies? Shen Jie, Team Feng has led Team 1 into the 13th floor area. The 6 octopuses are divided into 6 packages and carried by 6 soldiers. At this time, Deng Yuki's voice sounded on the intercom. Shen Jie specifically requested that the octopus be encapsulated, assuming that this invisible really feeds on its own kind, then not encapsulating it will definitely attract the attention of the invisible. It is still unclear what the invisible combat effectiveness is other than the treacherous space. The only 2 pieces of treacherous energy equipment on the branch's side are still on Shen Jie. It is safer to try to avoid ordinary soldiers from getting involved in the battle. Of course, even if the invisible can solve the battle with guns like the previous Sly Mouse and Sly Cat, Shen Jie does not want to be robbed of his head in the end. The combination of silent plus invisible characteristics is bound to win for him. Team 1 consists of 1 class, plus Feng Chengshou, which is 10 people. It's not surprising that Feng Chengshou would choose to enter the treacherous space and Shen Jie, because with Feng Chengxia's physique, holding the railing and doing a few pull-ups with one hand is as easy as drinking water, and there is no need for the protection of the treacherous gloves. It's just that Shen Jie didn't expect that Deng Yuki would still let a whole team of people from Team 1 enter even though he knew that every floor was in danger of collapse. That is an elite unit that only the best warriors in the Special Strategy Department are selected to join. The loss of one soldier is a huge loss to the Special Strategy Department. However, as a subordinate, Shen Jie has already reported the situation here truthfully, so Deng Yuki's arrangements naturally have her considerations. The strange thing is that after waiting for 2 or 3 minutes, no group of soldiers appeared either upstairs or downstairs, but Feng Chengshou and others reported on the intercom that they were all heading upstairs. Since Shen Jie particularly emphasized the rules of space collapse, Feng Chengshou and others kept this in mind after entering. 10 people entered, but unfortunately not even one of them made it right. It's not surprising that we didn't encounter anyone as we continued to go up, but at the pace of a team of warriors, it would be a problem if they couldn't reach the top floor in a few minutes. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. During this period, Feng Chengshou met a soldier, and then 2 more soldiers met, but neither met Shen Jie. Later, 2 soldiers encountered a collapse in the stairwell, but fortunately they escaped without any risk. It also confirmed Shen Jie's suspicion that the interior of the house would not be affected when the floor collapsed. Shen Jie felt that the situation reported by Feng Chengshou and others through the walkie-talkie was 100 times more complicated than he imagined, and it was still changing, so he felt that he could not wait any longer. Mr. Cheng, I remember that you went to Hawaii on a business trip for 2 months last year. Have you learned how to use a gun? Shen Jie pulled out his pistol and gave a brief demonstration. Cheng Shengnan asked in confusion. Is there any direct connection between a business trip to Hawaii and learning to use a gun? Primary school students can learn to fly boats and planes in Hawaii, but you haven't even learned how to shoot a gun. It's very simple, just look at. Shen Jie demonstrated the movements again, and explained the details and essentials, as well as some common mistakes made by novices when using guns. The most important thing is to emphasize recoil. Cheng Shengnan is very smart. After Shen Jie's explanation, he tried 2 shots downstairs and learned well. Apart from being inaccurate, Shen Jie's reviews have almost no shortcomings. Shen Jie asked Cheng Shengnan to put the pistol in his pocket. After a while, he asked her to shoot wherever she wanted and to empty the magazine without hesitation. Cheng Shengnan was surprised that Shen Jie had become so professional after not seeing him for just 2 days. Although he didn't know why he wanted to teach him how to use a gun, he still nodded and put the gun away safely according to Shen Jie's instructions. Then, Shen Jie asked Cheng Shengnan to follow him and enter the corridor on this floor. Warn. The system once again reminded Shen Jie that something was approaching. Shen Jie took the freezing device and sprayed it all the way from the stairs into the corridor. As soon as he turned the corner, he saw that residents in the houses on both sides were trapped. The family on the left has a family of 5, with 3 generations living under one roof. The house on the right is composed of 2 young women. As soon as Shen Jie and Cheng Shengnan stepped into the elevator, the young man from the house on the left was the first to notice Shen Jie. Seeing the clothes he was wearing, he kept waving and calling to him, but unfortunately, the sound was still blocked on this floor. Shen Jie gestured for the man to continue lying on the ground, and then took the freezing device and scanned the elevator room, trying to find invisible traces. At this time, the young woman in the house on the right also noticed Shen Jie and shouted a few words to him. When they saw no response, the 2 of them braved up and climbed up, groping for the door and opening it. Help us, help us. Go back to the house and stay there, it's very dangerous here, Shen Jie shouted to them. But the short-haired woman obviously didn't believe it. She pointed at Cheng Shengnan and said, You have saved one of them, why can't you take us with you? Back. Shen Jie said halfway when he saw 2 soldiers walking out of the stairwell entrance on the left. After Shen Jie reported to Deng Yuki that he had left the stairwell, these soldiers also tried to enter, looking for Shen Jie and confirming the number of survivors in the building. Team Shen. Team Shen. The status of elite agent Shen Jie is still higher than that of Feng Chengshou. If Deng Yuki is not around, that means he has the final say. At this time, he can completely take over Feng Chengshou's position as captain. Do you have anything on you? Shen Jie asked. One of the soldiers immediately took out a package in an insulated bag and handed it to Shen Jie. Yes. Give it to me and take these 2 people into the house, Shen Jie said. Yes. The two of them knew that Shen Jie had said before that when the floor collapsed, the house might be safe. Before the invisibility is solved, it is extremely inconvenient to move with two survivors, but it is safer to stay in the house. Why should we go back? You're the police, shouldn't you save us? Yes, get us out, otherwise I will expose your refusal to save others and treat survivors differently. That's it, why can you take this beauty with you, but we can't? The two young women scolded Shen Jie and the others. The ugly faces of the two women immediately formed a sharp contrast with the obedient Cheng Shengnan. Shen Jie glanced at them and grinned. Why else? Of course it's because you are ugly. My number is *9320. If you can get out alive, report me. By the way, I have a mental illness certificate. Now I'll give you two choices. 1. Be obedient and go in, or 2. I'll knock you out and drag you in. You dare? I'll expose you. Two young women cursed reluctantly and took out their mobile phones to record videos. Take them into the room on the left. Shen Jie pointed in the direction of the door and said. Two soldiers came forward, and one of them pulled one up and walked towards the door. One of them broke free from the soldier's hand, grabbed the cell phone with his backhand and hammered it on the soldier's protective mask. Don't touch me, I will definitely expose you. Shen Jie was about to take action when he suddenly noticed that the family of 5 on the right began to rotate slowly. No, it's going to collapse, follow me. Shen Jie turned around and ran towards the stairwell, followed closely by Cheng Shengnan. The two soldiers immediately picked up the two women and ran towards the house, but the short-haired one broke away and ran towards the opposite stairwell. Leave her alone, come in. Shen Jie, who ran to the door of the stairwell, turned around and saw this scene and shouted to the soldier. However, before he finished speaking, the short-haired woman screamed and fell downwards. The warrior chasing her instinctively pounced, grabbed her arms and lifted her up hard. Just as he was about to pick up the short-haired girl and get up and run towards the house, the floor beneath his feet shattered like glass, and they both fell downstairs. Get in the house. Hurry. Upon seeing this, Shen Jie gritted his teeth and shouted to another soldier, and fled into the stairwell with Cheng Shengnan. MD, why do disaster movies always have idiots who hold them back? Chapter 57. I admire you, but I can't do it. The soldier who took another woman into hiding in the room was reporting the situation to Deng Yuki through the intercom. After hearing a soldier fall downstairs, the intercom fell into brief silence. Then Huo Yu brought good news. The soldier and the short-haired woman both fell onto the safety air mattress, but the soldier's right arm was fractured in order to protect the short-haired woman. Hearing Huo Yu's report, Deng Yuki said, "Okay," and said nothing more. Shen Jie said in a casual tone, "Minister, you can ask me to kill Wei Wei, but don't expect me to risk my life to save such a person." Shen Jie. Deng Yuki started to speak but stopped. Shen Jie said solemnly, "He was lucky this time, but I don't believe he has such luck every time. He could have saved more people, but he lost his life in vain because of a person who was not worth saving. In my case it seems that this is not a hero. For people I don't know, their lives have the same weight. I am willing to kill one person to save 500 people, but the person killed must not be me." The famous railway problem. There are one person on the left railway and 500 people on the right railway. The out-of-control train is moving forward, and you have a joystick in your hand to control it to the left or right. What would you choose? Shen Jie's choice is very straightforward and realistic. He will save people he knows first. If he doesn't know anyone, he will save more people, but he must not sacrifice himself. 3 years of further study had a profound impact on him, and he was not suitable to be a soldier. Then, Shen Jie said seriously, "According to the rules of the Special Strategy Department, if the minister does not enter the strange space, then the elite agents will be in charge of the command. Now I have received the order from the captain of the Fengjiao. All soldiers enter each floor to confirm the survivors, so that they stay in the room and will give up the rescue if they encounter the situation just now. Who dares to risk their lives to save people before confirming that all residents on the 13th to 33rd floors are staying at home? Then they will be kicked out of the Special Policy Department." Feng Chengshou said hesitantly, "Chen Jie, this. Listen to him." Deng Yuki said solemnly, "Yes." Feng Chengshou stood up straight and responded with a loud voice, Due to an accident, Shen Jie failed to seize the opportunity to find the invisible at the upper level, and could only continue to look for it layer by layer. The strange thing is that after just going up one level, you're back to the level that just collapsed. The long-haired girl saw Shen Jie entering the room and instinctively took a step back. "My bestie, how is she doing? Don't mess around, I'll expose." Shen Jie snatched the woman's cell phone and threw it on the ground. He sprayed it with a freezing device, frozen it and then crushed it to pieces. Even if Jobs was dug out, he couldn't repair it. "What's going on? Just because of you two idiots, we lost a soldier. If you dare to talk nonsense again, or let me hear the nonsense coming from your two lousy mouths after you go out, I promise to let you take a good look at the gold content of my mental certificate." The long-haired woman met Shen Jie's cold eyes through the gas mask, and suddenly felt the hairs on her body stand up. That was not a soldier, but a murderer who was about to cut her into pieces. Then Shen Jie asked the soldier next to him to ignore the woman. If she wanted to go out and die, follow her, and asked the soldier to go next door to inform the family of 5 to stay in the house. Then, Shen Jie and Cheng Shengnan continued walking upward. Going up 3 floors, I met Feng Chengshou and a soldier walking out of a house. "Team Shen, these are 2 packaged items." After Feng Chengshou handed the octopus to Shen Jie, he and the soldier stood upright in front of him, obviously ready to listen to his next orders. "Feng Zhao, you continue to search for survivors. If you find something strange, remember not to fight alone," Shen Jie explained. Feng Chengshou nodded and asked the soldiers next to him to search for survivors, but he stood still. "Is there anything else?" Shen Jie asked. Feng Chengshou said, "Captain Shen, I understand that you are doing it for the sake of the soldiers, but you must also understand that when we put on these clothes, we must be worthy of these clothes. If we give up on them, what will they do? I can guarantee that everyone thinks so, but most of the soldiers in the ministry have already put life and death aside after putting on these clothes. People will make wrong judgments when they are afraid, and this cannot deny their right to survive. I admire you, but I can't do it. Now the action continues. You continue to go to other floors to find survivors," Shen Jie said. Feng Chengshou said, "I have many experiences in fighting against the weird ones. Staying with you can help you deal with the weird ones, and at the same time, I can search for survivors." Feng Chengshou and his team entered the strange space. In addition to delivering things and searching for survivors, there was actually a third task, which was to take Shen Jie safely out of the strange space at all costs. Not because he is an elite agent, but because he can confirm where there is something strange. With the radar of Shen Jie in the Special Policy Department, they can nip weird events in the cradle before they turn into vicious incidents that cause heavy casualties. Therefore, the Special Policy Department can be sacrificed, but Shen Jie cannot. In fact, after letting Shen Jie enter the strange space, Deng Yuqi regretted his decision. Even if the branch group in Wrong City is destroyed, new ministers and soldiers will take over, and even Shen Jie will be sent to the headquarters. Of course, Deng Yuqi has not reported this secret yet, because she also knows that once the headquarters knows about Shen Jie's ability, he will definitely be transferred. This may also arouse Shen Jie's resistance. After just a few days of contact, Deng Yuqi had a more or less understanding of Shen Jie's character. From the several times he deliberately put on a frivolous mask to disguise himself, as well as the preparations he made to prevent theft at home, it can be seen that Shen Jie is a very wary person. Such people are difficult to control, and the only way out is to reach consensus and cooperate. Shen Jie and Deng Yuqi both want to create a mutually beneficial and win-win situation, but it is not that easy to implement in practice. Feng Chengxia's phrase "worthy of the clothes you wear" is easy to say. If everyone can do it, it will be a prosperous age when the country is peaceful and the people live and work in peace and contentment. It's a pity that no matter how hard the gardeners spray pesticides in the orchard, there will still be borers in the fruits. As the saying goes, there are 2 kinds of people who are the least evil, one is the soldier and the other is the firefighter. The former protects the homeland and the country, while the latter relieves the people's worries. I can only say that with more people like this, the people will be closer to the prosperous age. Feng Chengshou is not only tall in stature, but also tall in figure. But unfortunately, this is not the case for Shen Jie. Even if he initially rescued Cheng Shengnan from dealing with the strange Fudo, it was just trying his best. If he hadn't developed a strong interest in Fudo, he would have chosen to run away after doing his best. Whether we are looking for survivors or weird things, we will be more efficient if we separate. This is an order. Shen Jie rejected Feng Chengxia's colleagues without hesitation and turned around and walked into the stairwell. Cheng Shengnan followed in. She knew that Shen Jie was not looking for survivors at all, because they met survivors on the first few floors. Shen Jie didn't even bother to enter the room. He directly gestured for people to stay in the room, then turned around and went next level. If you were looking for survivors, you couldn't even check the two households on the other side. Cheng Shengnan felt that Shen Jie was looking for something strange. Although the house would not collapse, she still felt that it would be safer to follow Shen Jie. Of course, even if she wanted to hide in the house, she would not be stupid enough to expose Shen Jie. After Feng Chengxiu connected to a new channel to communicate with Deng Yuqi, he ultimately did not follow him out, but went to other places to look for survivors. Deng Yuqi is making a big gamble on her previous guess that Shen Jie has the ability to locate the weirdness and solve the weirdness. The bet is 2 pieces of treacherous equipment and his radar. If he wins, the strength of the Special Strategy Department will be further improved. If he loses, this incident will worsen. After going up 2 more floors, Shen Jie received the system prompt again. Warn. Shen Jie grabbed a handful of chopped octopus from the packaging bag and asked Cheng Shengnan to take out his gun to be on guard. Then he walked out of the stairwell, spraying the freezing device while pinching and rubbing the octopus strips. Hey, come out and eat. Shen Jie stood in the middle of the elevator room, threw a piece of octopus meat into the open space in front of him, and then stared at the piece of octopus meat intently. A few seconds later, a gap appeared in the octopus flesh. Shen Jie grabbed the nozzle and sprayed it on the octopus. Immediately afterwards, a circular frost with a diameter of nearly 1 meter formed on the top of the octopus. Hey, little thing, I finally found you, do not move. Chapter 58. Treat you to a nice meal, small, little thing? Cheng Shengnan's face turned pale when he saw the ball that was frozen by the frost. He wanted to ask Shen Jie, are you sure this thing is small? She didn't even know how such a big thing got home with her. At this time, Shen Jie's shadow trembled, suddenly stretched to the round sphere covered with a layer of frost, and successfully fixed it. Once the immobility characteristic takes effect, 10% to 100% of mental power will be consumed per second depending on the target's rating, number and distance. Shen Jie currently has 180% mental power, which is decreasing at a rate of 20% per second. In other words, he only has 9 seconds. Mr. Cheng, don't be stunned. Shoot. Shen Jie couldn't move even when using the immobility feature, so he could only hand over the attack to Cheng Shengnan. Take the girl for half a day, use the girl for a while. Of course, Shen Jie knew that it would be more convenient for Cheng Shengnan to stay in the house and move alone, but he had to buy insurance for him. Otherwise, if you use the immovable property to freeze the weirdness, you can only play with the weirdness and stare at it. The reason why she chose Cheng Shengnan instead of Feng Chengxiu was that Shen Jie had been with Cheng Shengnan for several years and knew that she was not a talkative person. Secondly, it is definitely much easier to shut up an ordinary person than to shut up the elites of the Special Policy Department. Hearing this, Cheng Shengnan hurriedly took out the pistol from his pocket, loaded it, and aimed, his hands trembling slightly. After forcing yourself to calm down, straighten your arms and support the gun with your greatest strength to prevent recoil. Boom! The first shot hit the round top 2 inches below. It was slightly deflected and hit the scalp directly. Judging from the accuracy of the previous 3 shots and 3 misses, it was surprising enough to be able to hit with 1 shot this time. The moment the bullet hit the round sphere, a ball of blue blood exploded with a pop, splattering on the frost-covered body and slowly sliding down. Continue, Shen Jie urged. Perhaps because he gained confidence after the first shot hit, Cheng Shengnan no longer hesitated, aimed at the blue blood stain and kept pulling the trigger. Shen Jie didn't move to freeze the formless thing in order to avoid the use all the agility if you're afraid of being slow thing, causing him to disappear again after being startled. The difficulty of being invisible is that it cannot be seen, and it is in a transparent and mysterious space. Even if you can rely on system warnings to locate the location, it will be troublesome to find it. Let's shoot a few times first. If you can kill it, of course it's best. If you can't kill it, you'll get a little injured, maybe it can also limit its speed and ability. While Cheng Shengnan quickly emptied the magazine, Shen Jie stopped using the immobility feature, picked up his submachine gun and pointed it at the invisible person. Shen Jie's marksmanship was more accurate than Cheng Shengnan's. The flames from his submachine gun exploded into blue blood flowers on his invisible body. However, the invisible body withstood Shen Jie's firing, lying on the ball of octopus meat and kept eating. In the few seconds it took to empty the magazine, a piece of octopus meat was already eaten. Then, the blood-stained transparent figure slowly grew up, and was actually larger than before, with a diameter of 2 meters. Growing up so fast, Shen Jie couldn't help but think of the strange cat in the villa area. After becoming strange, its body suddenly grew to the size of an adult cheetah. Stay back! Shen Jie changed the magazine and was about to shoot, but he saw the blood-stained ball spread out like petals. It turned out that the octopus had actually wrapped itself in its tentacles. After the whole thing was spread out, it seemed as if the ground was covered with a thick layer of blood stains. Suddenly, the blood stains on the ground surged like a wave. At a glance, it was clear that the octopus was attacking with its tentacles. Shen Jie pounced toward the stairwell and reached out to grab Cheng Shengnan. Several tentacles flew over their heads. Shen Jie pulled out his saber and struck it with his backhand, directly cutting off several tentacles. There were more than 8 invisible tentacles. What's even more terrifying is that the severed tentacles regenerate at a speed visible to the naked eye. This healing speed is actually more than twice as fast as that of the sly rat. Shen Jie was about to help Cheng Shengnan stand up when several tentacles came from beside him and wrapped around his and Cheng Shengnan's waists. They lifted them up and threw them to the ground. When Shen Jie was lifted up, he swung the knife upward, and the severed tentacles sprayed blue blood all over his face. Fortunately, he was wearing a gas mask, so the impact was not big. After Shen Jie landed, he quickly put one hand on the ground. After getting up, he slashed at the top of Cheng Shengnan's body with his backhand. Although the 2 days of training did not improve Shen Jie's attributes much, it allowed him to learn a lot of fighting skills. Such reactions and actions were something he could not do before, at least. After cutting off the tentacles, more tentacles rushed towards the two of them. Shen Jie dragged Cheng Shengnan up and ran into the stairwell. You already know the rules. It's up to you to hide in the room or keep going up the stairwell. Shen Jie pushed Cheng Shengnan towards the stairwell, turned around and ran back. If you can't kill him with a gun, then the combination of not moving and Cheng Shengnan is useless. Shen Jie stood at the entrance of the stairs, took out the insulation bag and poured out the octopus meat inside, then put a blasting grenade into it, wrapped it with octopus meat, and then put it with another insulation bag, but not attached. Closed the bag to let the octopus smell come out. Shen Jie rushed over again. Regardless of whether it was useful or not, he first threw away the 2 flash bombs on his body. After they were exploded, he rushed in with the freezing device and sprayed them. The tentacles that came over were immediately covered with a layer of frost. Shen Jie picked up his saber and slashed at them. After chopping the frozen tentacles into pieces, he took the opportunity to become invisible. There are too many invisible tentacles. If the grenade cannot explode its body, it will be meaningless. And each type of projectile only carries 2, which is Shen Jie's only chance. The corridor was full of tentacles stained with blue blood, and they were so densely packed that they looked like they had broken into a worm's nest. It was both disgusting and terrifying. If you have trypophobia, you may faint to death. How to approach the invisible body? At the moment, there is not much time for Shen Jie to think about it. The most direct and time-saving way is to use his body as bait. Shen Jie was seen holding the insulation bag filled with octopus meat tightly to his chest, with even a few pieces leaking from the mouth of the bag. He held the saber high in his right hand. 2 seconds later, several tentacles from his feet to his chest tied him tightly and dragged him to the position of the invisible body. When he was about to become invisible, the tentacles tried to pull the insulation bag on Shen Jie's chest. Shen Jie saw the opportunity and slashed down with his raised right hand, cutting off several tentacles that were binding him. While the tentacles were still regenerating, Shen Jie rushed forward, pulled off the ring of the explosive grenade, stuffed the insulation bag towards the body of the invisible sphere, then turned around and ran away. Please have a good meal. I guess I was a little confused. Maybe I had the illusion that you were a weird person, and you actually put food into your mouth? But the next second, Shen Jie jumped over the tentacles on the ground and rushed back to the stairs. There was a loud, bang, sound. Blue blood and goo exploded everywhere, and the entire corridor was filled with blue blood and pieces of flesh. Shen Jie carried the saber and came back to kill him again. Not receiving a prompt from the system meant that the invisible had not been killed, and the invisible would become bigger and stronger after eating the same kind. He did not dare to give the opponent a chance to breathe, so he was like a butcher. Generally, the freezing device is held in the left hand and the saber is held in the right hand, spraying and cutting at the same time. The invisible round body had been blown into several pieces. Shen Jie saw them chop one by one. At this moment, the familiar sound of shattering glass sounded again. Chapter 59. There is room for maneuver in this strange realm. This floor is going to collapse. Are you trying to escape after being defeated? Shen Jie's face darkened, and he thought of a way to prevent his invisible escape from rebirth by collapsing a building. The strange space collides with the strange space, causing space distortion. If this layer was distorted, it might not collapse. Shen Jie used immobility to directly fix the corpses on the ground, trying to pull them into the strange space of immobility, but his mental power was about to bottom out. Shen Jie quickly cancelled his motion to prevent dizziness. Although it was only a short moment of dizziness, it was safer to avoid such negative effects if the strangeness was present. A few seconds of strange space collision was indeed effective. Soldiers on other floors reported from the intercom that the building has collapsed. Apparently, the strange space collision created by Shen Jie successfully distorted the collapse of this floor. Shen Jie suddenly thought of a question. The collision in the strange space can only divert the activation of the strange ability, but cannot prevent it, or is it just a coincidence? There was no time to think too much. The most important thing at the moment was to kill the invisible first. In order to prevent the invisible from affecting the strange space again and causing a collapse, Shen Jie took off his gas mask and ate the spiritual apple in his pocket in a few mouthfuls. Although it is a bit wasteful, at this time, an accident may ruin all the previous efforts. No matter how good the things are, Shen Jie has no interest in bringing them into the coffin. As expected, every time Shen Jie chopped a larger piece of corpse into meat paste, the sound of breaking glass would be heard around him. However, Shen Jie already had experience. As soon as he heard the sound of shattering glass, he immediately activated the motionless motion to pull the invisible into the strange space to create space distortion, and controlled the time to 1 second to save mental energy. Anyway, its main purpose is to create strange space collisions, not to control the intangible. 1 second is enough to cause a strange space collision. Every time Shen Jie causes a space collision to prevent the collapse of this floor, a soldier will be heard on the intercom reporting the collapse of the floor. Obviously, space distortion can cause a transfer when the uncanny space ability is activated, but the transferred area is still in the uncanny space, but the location cannot be determined. This is why Deng Yuki said that it is easy to get in but difficult to get out. Although it can escape from the strange space due to space distortion, the location is uncertain and it has no effect if it is not by his side. And the exit is also uncertain. Like other floors collapsing and falling directly from the upstairs, this may not be going out, but going straight to the underworld. In other words, it can only delay the effect of the ability in the strange space, but not completely prevent it, in order to transfer infinitely, unless Shen Jie has endless mental power. When Shen Jie chopped the last corpse piece into pieces, the system's pleasant reminder finally sounded in his mind. The host kills level 7 weirdness, characteristic, intangible, and can sell the weird corpse, or let the system swallow it to extract characteristics. Weird, characteristic. Intangible, worth 50,000 system points. Swallowing strange things, you can extract characteristics. Hearing this heavenly reminder, Shen Jie felt like he had suddenly become rich overnight. With 5W system points and 500 draws, he might be able to directly change his career to become an arms dealer. But unfortunately, with the combination of silent plus invisible characteristics, Shen Jie has no patience to wait for the next appearance of invisible. Swallow. Level 7 inches weirdness, characteristic. Intangible, was successfully swallowed, and the characteristic, intangible, was extracted. This characteristic will be fused in a form more suitable for the host, and the host attribute panel has been updated. Shen Jie opened the properties panel to view the invisible effect. Intangible. After use, it can enter an invisible state, making itself visually transparent, but still affected by physical collisions. Consumes 1% of energy per second and can be activated at the same time as other features. Intangible realm, type 1. After unfolding the realm, things within a 10 cubic range can be made transparent, and the realm will move with the user's movement. Consumes 50% mental power every second. Affected by characteristics, the terrain within the treacherous realm can be changed. Note: upgrading features can expand the scope of the treacherous realm, reduce mental energy consumption, and open Type 2 treacherous realm. Shen Jie. The basic ability of the characteristic, invisible, is similar to Shen Jie's expectation, and he estimated that the mental power consumption of the intangible should be 2 to 3 times that of the silent one, and the 1% mental power consumption is really an unexpected surprise. But, invisibly, when I opened the mysterious realm, half the building was gone. When I opened the mysterious realm, 10 cubic meters? And it consumes 50% of mental energy per second? 3.6 seconds? Who do you look down on in 3 seconds? Besides, you're young and don't talk about the system. If it doesn't last long, do you think it's reasonable? Shen Jie was angry. The host can improve the rating to obtain upgrade points to upgrade characteristics, reduce mental energy consumption, and obtain more characteristics and abilities. If you dare to go to the starting point and do this, you will be drowned in saliva in minutes. I will accuse you of suppressing your strength and realm. Can you stand up for it? Show off the skills that Goldfinger should have? Are you a grocery store? Shen Garen said. Keep complaining? Please host to improve your rating as soon as possible and get rid of the label of being a scumbag. Shen Jie is very popular. This system also has mental attacks? System, sing a song by Jalen. I can't even sing, even worse than my classmate Xiao Ai. Qi returned to Qi, and Shen Jie had no way to deal with the system. Fortunately, he was also interested in silent and invisible at the beginning, and did not have high expectations for the mysterious realm. Having obtained the ability of transparency can only be said to have achieved the basic goal. At this time, with the invisible death, after the body was swallowed by the system, the surrounding corpses turned into white light and disappeared, leaving only blue blood stains all over the corridor. The mysterious realm also disappeared, and the transparent building returned to its original appearance. Looking at the restored floor, Shen Jie couldn't help but think of the ability to invisibly collapse the floor. However, in the description of the characteristics and weirdness, only one terrain change was mentioned. Intangibility can create collapses in the mysterious space, so I can only make things in the mysterious space transparent? Shen Jie saw that he still had 120% of his mental power and was immediately ready to give it a try. Invisible and mysterious realm. As soon as the characteristic is turned on, with Shen Jie as the center, the area of 10 cubic meters suddenly becomes transparent again. When the strange space was unfolding, Shen Jie's eyes were staring at the floor under his feet, and he was still thinking about how the invisible force created a collapse through the strange space. Because he has been thinking in his mind and unfolding the characteristic realm at the same time, the moment it became transparent, it was as if the characteristic sensed the collapse in his mind. There was a loud bang, and the floor under Shen Jie's feet shattered like glass and fell directly to the next floor. Fuck, the accident happened so suddenly that Shen Jie was completely unprepared. He stepped on the glass and fell down, throwing him backwards. He was so painful that his eyes were filled with stars. How is this going? 2 seconds passed by in a blink of an eye, and the surroundings returned to their original appearance. This was equivalent to Shen Jie thinking about the collapse, and the floor collapsed. Looking up at the ceiling, there were no collapsed holes on it. Shen Jie's eyes lit up, and he felt that there seemed to be room for maneuver in this mysterious realm. Chapter 60. I have a project worth 200 million. Shen Jie speculated that when the mysterious realm unfolds, he can control the terrain changes in the mysterious realm, and the terrain changes in the mysterious realm will not affect reality. This is why Invisible controlled the collapse of buildings many times in the mysterious realm, but after the mysterious realm was lifted, the 13th floor and above did not collapse. The system said that the strange area will change into the corresponding terrain due to the strange characteristics, which refers to the strange space, such as invisible. The strange space is the invisible form of half of the building. Of course, these are just Shen Jie's guesses. Unfortunately, he does not have enough mental power to verify his guess again now, so he can only wait until his mental power recovers. Shen Jie, can you hear me? If you hear me, please answer, Deng Yuki called again and again from the intercom. Shen Jie cut off the signal of the walkie-talkie while fighting the invisible. After that, Deng Yuki ordered Feng Chengshou and others to give up searching for survivors and first confirm whether Shen Jie was alive. Shen Jie answered the intercom, looked at the floor number 23 and said, "Minister, I'm on the 24th floor. Wei Yi has been blown up by the explosive grenade to the point where there's nothing left. We can ask people from the technical department to come up and deal with it." As he spoke, Shen Jie stood up and walked upstairs. Solved? Deng Yuki was a little surprised, but she knew that the matter was by no means as simple as Shen Jie said. She was even sure that Shen Jie had hidden a lot of trump cards. Otherwise it would have been impossible to solve a level 2 weirdo silently. Shen Jie is a signal that is deliberately cut off. After waiting for a while, the first people to arrive on the 24th floor were Feng Chengshou and 2 soldiers, followed by Deng Yuki and others, and Cheng Shengnan, whom she met halfway. Since the mysterious space had just disappeared and everyone didn't know if it was completely safe, they did not choose the elevator but took the stairs. Deng Yuki stood at the entrance of the corridor and looked towards the elevator. The walls, ceiling, and floor were covered with blue liquid and minced octopus meat. However, these are not invisible corpses, but octopuses wrapped in insulated bags. While Shen Jie was reporting the process to Deng Yuki, Li Shang walked out of the elevator with people from the technical department. Seeing this, Feng Chengshou asked, "Li Shang, didn't the minister say it's best not to take the elevator?" Li Shang rolled his eyes at Feng Chengshou and said in a disdainful tone, "I am engaged in technology, and I am not a brute like you. If I ask you to climb the 24th floor, you might as well kill me." Li Shang ignored Feng Chengshou after finishing his explanation, and started spraying pesticides on a daily basis, and ordered his assistant to collect the corpse residues and bring them back to the ministry for study. Through Shen Jie's feedback and Deng Yuki's analysis, the invisible is temporarily classified as level 2 weirdness, because its weird energy response is still far behind level 3. In fact, the invisible real strength is only level 2, which also surprised Shen Jie. Because according to Shen Jie's previous inference, the time difference of 4 years is usually reduced by 1 or 2 levels, but he didn't expect that the intangibility that can open the semi-finished treacherous realm is on the same level as the 5th level of immobility. The invisible strange space covers half of the building. If you want to change the terrain, you can change the terrain. If you want to collapse a layer, you can collapse it. In the end, this is the strength of the main body? Shen Jie even suspected that this guy might be lurking in the aquatic area because of his physical strength, waiting for others of his kind to die before he could fill his stomach. The reason why they suddenly mutated in the past 2 months is because the number of octopus deaths in aquatic areas has increased. Cheng Shengnan happened to buy one today. Eating this one will give him enough strength to awaken the strange space? But now that the invisible is dead, there is no point in thinking about it. Shen Jie's report to her removed the chopped meat and devoured parts and ended after the explosion, which sounded fine. Because according to Li Zhang's judgment, no matter how big the level 2 invisible body is, it can't be much bigger. It is reasonable to think that it will be blown to pieces by the special explosive grenade specially made by the Special Strategy Department. Of course, just because it is true does not mean that Deng Yuki will completely believe it. It's just that there is still a lot of mess in the aftermath that Deng Yuki needs to worry about. Some issues at the moment can only be communicated with Shen Jie later. Since it was not Shen Jie's turn to deal with the aftermath, he sent Cheng Shengnan back to his house. After entering the house, Cheng Shengnan asked, "What to drink? Tea? Water? Beverage? Here's a bottle of Fat Boy Happy Water, frozen, thank you." Shen Jie put the gas mask and submachine gun on the ground and sat directly on the ground. "There is no Coke, these are the only drinks." Cheng Shengnan took out several drinks from the refrigerator and put them on the table, all of which were various nutritious juices. Shen Jie picked up a bottle at random, opened it, and drank most of the bottle. "What are you doing sitting on the ground?" Cheng Shengnan asked. Shen Jie pointed at the blue liquid on his body. "This sofa costs tens of thousands. If I sit on it, half of it will be scrapped." After a long silence, Cheng Shengnan said, "You saved me again. If you are free one day, I will treat you to dinner. You can choose any restaurant in Rong City. If you don't want to choose, I will arrange it." Tisk. Shen Jie rubbed his chin and looked at Cheng Shengnan with a deep look. "I think I'm not bad looking either." Cheng Shengnan looked at Shen Jie with a puzzled expression, obviously not understanding what he meant. Others say that the favor of saving one's life. To be handsome is to pledge one's body to him, and to be ugly is to repay him by working as a cow or a horse in the next life. My treatment is even worse, just a meal, Shen Jie sighed. "As long as I can help you in the future, just ask," Cheng Shengnan said. "I have a project worth 200 million yuan, I am serious." "Well, actually this is just my job. You don't need to take it to heart. But today's matter. I believe Mr. Cheng knew how to say it when he was taking notes, right?" Shen Jie said with a smile. Cheng Shengnan nodded. "We encountered something strange while searching for survivors. For my safety, you asked me to escape back to the stairwell. Not long after, I heard an explosion. But I still want to thank you for cooperating with me to deal with the weirdness," Shen Jie said. Cheng Shengnan looked at Shen Jie doubtfully. "Help you? How can I, a weak woman, help you? Oh, this is the pistol you dropped during the battle. I picked it up for you. So, I like to deal with smart people." 6:30 p.m. Now for you the evening news. Rong City has focused on accelerating the pace of scientific research, focusing on promoting high-quality scientific and technological products, engaging in scientific research, promoting innovation, and striving for stability while making progress. Now it has made major breakthroughs. The latest anti-reconnaissance stealth device of the institute is in Rong today. It was put into use in the city's anti-terrorism drill and successfully made half of the building invisible to the naked eye. This anti-reconnaissance stealth device will soon be put into the research and development of fighter aircraft and warships. In the picture, the reporter is standing outside the community, pointing to the half-invisible building in the distance, and talking about Rong City's latest scientific research equipment. And this strange incident was excused as a city-wide joint anti-terrorism exercise. In the conference room of the Special Policy Department, Shen Jie saw the picture on the screen and couldn't stand it anymore. Is this the solution that the public relations came up with? Deng Yuki, who was sitting in the first place, looked at the information in his hand and said without raising his head, "It's just a common way of saying it. You will get used to it in the future." Shen Jie was speechless. Sure enough, Iron Man was right. As long as things like fighter jets crashed and tanks exploded, which could not be explained, they could be solved by pushing them to the drill.